So you're thinking about making a move to the Boise, Idaho area, and the biggest question that I get is, what is it actually like to live there? I know that there's great outdoor activities. I know that there's this really cool special event, all of these really cool things that draw you here initially, but what is that day-by-day life? That boring Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, just the life that you're gonna have up here, because at the end of the day, that's the main thing that you're gonna be worried about. And today, I'm gonna break down one of the biggest parts of all of our lives and give you a little bit of context into what are the best grocery stores that we have available here in the Treasure Valley area. If you're into that, go ahead and stay tuned. Let's get into it. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase Dolan, and today we're gonna be looking at some of the best grocery stores here in the Treasure Valley area. I'm gonna walk you through 10 of the ones that I think are the most well-known. We're not gonna talk about every single mom and pop kind of corner store that's all throughout Boise, Nampa, etc. So if there are some that you think that I missed, like always, drop that comment below, give some love to the ones that you really think people need to know about. But I'm gonna walk you through the 10 that we're gonna talk about. We're really gonna focus on how do they compare with each other? What are you gonna expect? I'll try and give you a little bit of insight as to, hey, this one here that you may never have heard of if you're from a different part of the country, this reminds me of this one that maybe you've heard of. And of course, I'm gonna give you my personal kind of experience with what do we go to in each store, how do we actually feel about it, what are the ones that we just avoid at all costs, and try and give you that honest opinion about where you're gonna wanna spend your time. Now, as a disclaimer, grocery stores here in the area, as we've been expanding quite rapidly, you're gonna see that different ones are gonna be located in different parts of town. So just because this option might be the absolute best in my opinion, if you're living 40 minutes away from it, you're most likely not gonna be going out there. And that's the first thing that I want you to know about grocery shopping up here is a lot of people, myself included, basically everybody that I talk to, it's gonna be location dependent. Most places around town are gonna have multiple options for you to choose from, but you're not gonna have this extensive list of places, which means your day by day is probably gonna be influenced by where you live. But when you have those choices, I want you to know kind of, okay, this is where I wanna go for my produce. This is where I wanna go if I wanna save a little bit of money. Whatever it is. But let's go ahead and dive right in. And I feel like a great place to start is with the store that no matter where you're from, if you don't recognize this one, please drop a comment below because I want to know where the heck you live. We're going to talk about Walmart. I'm going to be honest, this one comes in at number 10, actual worst one that we're going to talk about today, in my opinion, because I just don't think that Walmart has the highest quality food, the highest quality shopping experience. Walmart is a place that we really only go to for a couple of really specific things. None of them have to do with food. This is where we get our coat hangers and everything. They have some great kind of wood ones that we just absolutely love, but this isn't a place that we make sure that we go. And we live just a couple of minutes away from the one on 10 miles. So it isn't an access kind of thing. We've just noticed that we don't enjoy shopping there as much. It's always extremely busy. You're not gonna have a ton of the check stands open. All of the things that if you live, again, anywhere, you've probably been in a Walmart, and I've been in Walmarts my entire life. And the ones up here are no different. We do have a couple of different types. We have a lot of the Walmart kind of super centers. That's gonna be the grocery and then the rest of Walmart. But around town, we actually have a few that are called Walmart kind of neighborhood markets that are gonna be pretty much just the grocery store with a little bit of extra stuff that's gonna resemble, again, a typical grocery store. For all their faults, in my personal belief, one of the things that Walmart does excel at is it's gonna be one of the cheapest and most affordable options that you're gonna find. And a lot of times that's what draws people to it. So if that's what you're looking for, you're gonna find them all over town. Up next, coming in at number 9 on my personal list, is gonna be Grocery Outlet. Grocery Outlet is a regional kind of grocery store here. Most of them are gonna be on the west coast of the United States, but there are some all the way on kind of the east coast in Delaware, DC, those sorts of things. So if this doesn't ring a bell, the thing that it reminds me the most of when I spent some time in the Midwest during grad school is it reminds me a lot of an Aldi. It's the store that you go to if you really want to find the stuff that's the most affordable, really have that low budget type of grocery shopping, and you're not as concerned with finding the specific things that you need. When you walk into a grocery outlet, and again, the full name is Grocery Outlet Bargain Market, if that gives you any sort of inkling. They have kind of a rotating supply of things going through. They of course have their staples that you're always gonna find, but when you're walking up and down the aisles, this really good wine that you had one time might not be there for the next year and a half. All of these sorts of things. So if you're looking for, hey, I need to find A, B, C, D, and I like these brands, Grocery Outlet isn't gonna be the best place for you. The main reason that it appears so low on my list personally, and this is that location thing that we talked about, I've lived in Meridian and Eagle for about the last 5 to 6 years. The grocery outlets, there's a couple down in Boise, and then there's gonna be some out in Nampa. So we have just never really been anywhere that's convenient to make a shop at these. I will say, there's some people that live here locally that absolutely swear by them. But even they typically admit this is a place that you go, you get what works for you, but you might have to make a second stop somewhere else afterwards. And then transitioning away from grocery outlet, we're gonna talk about number 8 on the list today. We're gonna talk about Ridley's Neighborhood Family Market. So Ridley's only has 3 locations here in the Treasure Valley. You're gonna find one in Kuna, you're gonna find one in Middleton and Star. They really are in more of the rural towns. For a long time, they were the only kind of grocery store available to people in that area, which really allowed them to have that local feel. Everything there was a little bit more. You actually knew the people that you were looking at. Again, small town grocery. As we're starting to get an Albertsons out in Star, Middleton's eventually gonna have a second grocery store. The bigger chains are going to make their ways out there. And that's where we're starting to see that Ridley's, when they're trying to compare to some of these larger grocery chains, it's gonna be one of the more expensive options. But it does have a few things going for it that really will keep it as a valuable place for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. The first of which being, it is completely locally owned. This is massive here in the area because people that live in the Treasure Valley, we've always been partial to locally owned businesses. Idaho is a very business-friendly state. Everything about here is shop local all day long. But as we've kind of seen all of this growth happen, we're having these bigger companies come and they're pushing out a lot of these local kind of neighborhood joints. So whenever ones are actually able to compete and stay firm, people really do have a loyalty to it. And especially out in Star with the new Albertsons, there are still people that are making the trip over to Ridley's because they've shopped there for 10 years. They're fine paying an extra 30 cents for a gallon of milk, whatever it might be. You're also gonna find some great local options from local dairies, local produce, all sorts of great food in these areas because again, they were really started as that neighborhood kind of local family market. So when we're comparing it to Walmart, for example, where everything you can tell has been shipped in from who knows where, great value is all over all of the brands, that's not really what you're gonna find in Ridley's. You are gonna have, of course, some name brand stuff, but it's gonna be a much more local experience than one of the massive chains. Up next, we're gonna talk about number 7 on the list. And this is gonna be weird because this is one of my absolute favorite places to shop for a lot of the things that we have in our house. But it's a very unique kind of shopping experience. So when I was kind of putting together, how would I actually explain where these things quote unquote rank? This one, it was hard to kind of get it too high. And we're just gonna talk about Costco. We have 3 Costcos in our Treasure Valley with one out in Nampa off of Karcher Road. You're gonna have one in Boise off of Cole, and then you're gonna have the one in North Meridian off of 10 Mile. That's the one that we go to fairly often. For anybody who's not familiar with Costco, Costco is a big kind of warehouse style. You're gonna need a yearly membership to actually get in there. And when you're really looking through, their big shtick that really sets them apart is they have a lot of really high quality foods, clothing, different sorts of things that you're gonna need, but they get them in these big bulk quantities and then they actually sell them to you in bulk as well. And because of these 2 factors, that's part of why I put it a little bit lower on the list. Because even though we absolutely love Costco and we have got staples there for days, from chicken nuggets, our dog food, all sorts of different refrigerated stuff, we get all of our rice, tomato sauce, so many different things there. At the end of the day, the membership is gonna be an added component and just an added cost for people who may not see the value. And you have to be in a position where you're actually comfortable buying big quantities of things. For example, the pasta sauce that I just mentioned. This isn't a place where you're gonna be able to go out and find 1 jar of pasta sauce for your dinner tonight. You're gonna have to buy kind of the value size bigger ones, and there's gonna be 3 in a pack. So if you're living in an apartment, for example, or your house just doesn't have a ton of storage, you're a first-time home buyer, whatever it is, you have to know that that's kind of what's offered here. It can really give you a nice deal on certain items, but at the end of the day, do you want all that extra food and stuff in your house that you might not get through for a while? And then when we're talking about the deals, something that I know people have their own beliefs on when they're looking at Costco is sometimes people are like, that is a killer deal. This is a great place. You're really getting a value for that membership. Other people look at it and they're like, you're really not saving any money. You're just buying bigger cases. We've seen both. There are certain things there. For example, we buy these protein shakes, Fairlife. Absolutely awesome. They taste like chocolate milk. Very random plug. Here we can get 18 of those for about $36, so about $2 per. Anywhere else that we've looked for these, they're typically closer to $3 to $4 per, and they come in these little 10 packs, 12 packs if we're lucky. So it's one of those places that Costco isn't gonna be where you buy everything, because you don't need everything. You don't need a gallon tub of cottage cheese. You don't always need a gallon tub of cottage cheese. So when you're making your list and you're becoming familiar with the area, if you decide to get a membership out here, the way that we've always done it is once we start buying things over and over and over, let's look at them at Costco. We know what we're getting. We know the quality. We know that we really like it. What about at Fred Meyer, Winco, Walmart, wherever else you are? If you can get something for cheaper at your grocery store, go get it there. So this really is a place where every time we go to Costco, we probably have a list of 15 things that we buy there religiously. And then we of course get sucked into some of their bulk items. We love their food court, everything about Costco. I absolutely love it, but that's kind of why it's a little bit lower on the list. Just sliding in here to give you a reminder that I am a local agent up here in the Boise, Idaho area. So whether you're making a move in 9 days, 9 months, I do not care. Call, text, email. If there's a way that I can help, I would absolutely love to. And make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. That way you are the first to know everything that you need to know about living here in the Boise, Idaho area. Let's get back into it. Up next, we're gonna talk about Whole Foods. The main con with Whole Foods here in the area is that we only have one. There's only one Whole Foods located right downtown. So when I'm talking about that location, kind of where you're located is what grocery store you're gonna use, that is the main reason why Whole Foods is so low on my list. When I lived in Boise, when I was going to school, this was 100% near the top. They have got some of the best quality produce, meats, all sorts of great products. They're gonna be a little bit more organic and fresh and natural kind of focused. Their like ready to go food section is absolutely awesome. You can get some nice burritos, pizza, all sorts of different things. And they also have a big section when we're kind of looking at kind of that granola lifestyle. If you're looking for a little bit more of the natural remedies, you're looking for supplements, vitamins, that hippy dippy stuff. If that's something that you really like and you implement in your life a lot, Whole Foods is gonna be a great provider of that in a way that, of course, Walmart, some of these other big chains just don't do it. Now, as our valley has been exploding, everybody keeps asking, when is that next Whole Foods gonna pop up? Whole Foods is pretty strategic with where they put their stores. So I don't know when we'll get one, if ever, and I don't know what part of town it'll be in, but for now, you only have that one. And if you're not living near downtown, going in for Whole Foods every single time that you need grocery probably just isn't gonna be feasible. But if this is a place that you're like, hey, we just love buying these 5 items from them, it may be worth the trip. My wife and I nowadays hardly ever go into Whole Foods, but a big part of that is convenience. A few years ago, we were dealing with some allergy stuff, so we had to go on a pretty strict little diet where it had a lot of the natural stuff. We couldn't have a lot of sugar, whatever, no dairy, all of the fun stuff that was being taken away from us. When we were looking for very specific things that fit our diet, we were really eating gluten-free, dairy-free, all of the different nutritional things. Whole Foods was a place that we ended up going to a lot because they are gonna have a ton more options for all sorts of different things compared to some of these other big ones. So that's kind of what you need. If you are gluten-free, for example, you might find everything that you want in a Whole Foods, whereas if the Walmart is the closest thing to you, you might not get everything that you need. And of course, anybody that's been in a Whole Foods, they offer really high quality stuff, but it is gonna be pretty expensive compared to a lot of the different stores around. And that's gonna transition us into the next one that we're gonna talk about. And this again is one of my favorites when we do go there, but there just aren't very many locations here, so it's gonna be a little bit lower than some of our mainstays. We're gonna talk about Trader Joe's. So we have 2 Trader Joe's here in the area. We have one off Eagle Road in Meridian, and then again, we have one in downtown Boise. Trader Joe's is a fantastic store. Everything there is gonna be private label where they actually have their own products and things that they give to you. When we're looking at Trader Joe's, their produce is some of the best in the entire valley. It's always displayed really well. It's in really good shape. You're gonna find a lot of fresh stuff. And then when we're talking about their ready-to-go food, their wine and beer selection is extremely affordable and pretty vast, honestly. But the main draw there for us is gonna be that frozen section. For anybody that's been to a Trader Joe's, some of their Asian meals, some of their desserts, their meats, all sorts of different stuff, you are gonna find some things that you just absolutely fall in love with. And when we're looking at price, I wouldn't classify Trader Joe's as a complete budget-friendly option. It isn't gonna be completely everything is under $1 kind of stretching your budget as far as you can compared to a Walmart grocery outlet, but it definitely isn't as expensive as a Whole Foods, for example. So in my eyes, Trader Joe's gives a really nice balance of very high quality and unique things that you just can't get at other stores, but at a little bit more of an affordable price point. And this is a place that I do see us getting a couple more as we continue to grow out, and I'm just hoping that one ends up closer to us, so that's a little bit more convenient for that day-to-day grocery. All right, and now we're gonna make the transition into some of those ones that are gonna be pretty much available all over the Treasure Valley. These are going to be ones that you're most likely going to be really close to, and a lot of them have the availability that's up near Walmart. Nobody has as many locations as Walmart. That's just a fact. But these are going to be spaced out around town where you're probably going to be about 10 minutes from any of these. The first of which being Albertsons. So Albertsons is our biggest grocery chain that's actually headquartered up here in the Idaho area. Albertsons is going to be located all over our valley, but they've also been expanding to other parts of town, building these much bigger kind of style Albertsons. So you're going to have the typical kind of neighborhood market that's going to be your normal looking grocery store, but you're going to have some of these that are just really, really big compared to others. They're going to have a lot more options basically in every category. In some of these newer ones in particular, their produce section is absolutely gorgeous. You're gonna find some fruits, vegetables, spices that you might not find in other smaller grocery stores. And then there's a couple of Albertsons in particular that are even another step above. There's one down by the university, Albertsons on Broadway, where it has this really large store with all of these really nice quality foods, but they took it another level with all of this kind of ready-to-go food court style kind of options. And the one on Broadway, actually, if you go up the stairs, you actually have a full bar cocktail lounge where you can watch a game kind of as you're shopping, after you shop, whatever. And then when we come back to Eagle Road, the biggest Albertsons, that is definitely something that you should check out if you're looking for anything in particular, honestly. But this is a great place if you're getting any sort of meat and cheese board, you want to get some wine, anything that's a little bit more unique. Albertsons or Market Street, located right across from the village, is a massive store. When we're entertaining or we're having people over and we're putting together a charcuterie board, for example, this is a place that we go out of our way to make sure that we go to. Their selection and availability of certain ingredients just is unmatched to most of the rest of the Treasure Valley. And then like the one over on Broadway, the one on Eagle Road, Market Street, has a really large kind of tapas cocktail style bar that's just located right inside of their store. And this is a place where people religiously go every Sunday to watch football. There's a Starbucks in there. It kind of gives a different shopping experience compared to other places. Now, when we're looking at Albertsons, this is going to be a place that's a little bit more expensive. I've lived here for just about a decade now, and no matter where we've been in the other stores that we've been shopping at, pretty consistently we found that Albertsons, just every single item, feels like it's just a little bit higher. And then for those of you that might not have an Albertsons anymore, again, I'm from Colorado and Albertsons kind of went out of business there when I was a kid. This is going to be very similar to a Safeway, for example, some of the King Soopers, kind of those other Kroger grocery stores, but Safeway is going to feel almost identical to Albertsons. Up next, I want to talk to you about Winco. There are 7 locations across the Treasure Valley where you can find a Winco. And for my wife and I in particular, Winco is the place that we go if we're looking for something that's pretty general. We don't need any specific brands. We're okay kind of finding an alternative if it's not available there, but we want to have the cheapest possible option. And that's where Winco thrives. It's an employee-owned company, and they are a massive grocery store. When I say that you have to be okay with some alternatives, I'm not saying that you're not going to find what you're looking for. We've just noticed that if you go there for a very specific thing, a certain type of cream cheese, for example, you might not find it there. Whereas some of the other grocery stores that we talked about will always have just more options in a steady supply. But compared to Albertsons, for example, that we just talked about, pretty much across the board, we found that almost everything at Winco is markedly cheaper than most of the other stores around town. And they also have a great bulk section for nuts, different snacks, and they've got a massive kind of candy section in the back. And they also have a really good bulk spice section. So if you need, let's say, 2 bay leaves for some random recipe and you've never used them before in your life, you don't need to buy an entire case of bay leaves. Go here, you can buy a couple of them and pay a few cents. I would say that Winco is probably one of our most popular ones that we go to on a somewhat regular basis. But the one that we're gonna talk about next, and number 2 on the list, is the one that we go to pretty much the most out of everywhere. This is what I would classify as our grocery store. We're gonna talk about Fred Meyer. So Fred Meyer is our local kind of Kroger chain. So anywhere that you're at, if you grew up around a King Soopers, again, Safeway, if you're out in the Midwest, this is very, very similar to Meyer. And some of those same kind of Kroger style grocery stores, you're gonna know exactly what to expect with Fred Meyer. There are 7 of these located all over the valley. And the main reason that we do go here the most is it is the closest to us. Basically, we have a small Albertsons and a Fred Meyer located about the same distance away. So we spend most of our time at the Fred Meyer, Chinden and Linder. And for anybody that's kind of seen the video here, I'll show you a little bit of a drone shot. Is Fred Meyer is located right across the street from a Winco. So a lot of times we'll kind of look at our list and we'll figure out, hey, what do we want to go to Winco for? And then everything else we just get at Fred Meyer. Their produce section is pretty consistent in terms of kind of organization, availability, the freshness of the different ingredients. They also have one of the best delis here in the area, just with a pretty wide selection of meats and cheeses. And then contrary to Winco that we just talked about, you can basically find almost anything that you're looking for here at Fred Meyer, which just allows it to be that kind of one-stop shop. And then outside of grocery, even though that's what we're talking about, Fred Meyer stores, they are set up to where they have really large clothing sections and then a big furniture section. They've got your kitchen stuff. They have the sports kind of automobile, everything that you're gonna need you can find at a Fred Meyer, but their main focus is that grocery. And I think it shows. One con about Fred Meyer is it is gonna be a little bit more expensive than some of the budget options around town. For example, again, when I was going to school about 10 years ago, our biggest options downtown were gonna be Winco, eventually the Whole Foods, and then there was a Fred Meyer and Albertsons. We shopped religiously at Winco. And at that point in my life, Fred Meyer was seen as the absolute most expensive place that we could find. Now, with inflation and everything, I think they've started to kind of close that gap a little bit, especially again, if you buy the off-brand stuff. That's one of the things that the Kroger kind of grocery stores are pretty consistent with, is they've got a lot of that Kroger branded alternatives to most of the options. But when we're looking at a balance of having locations all over town, having really great availability of every ingredient that you're gonna look for, and not having to pay an arm and a leg for it, Fred Meyer tends to come out on top a lot. They also have a great kind of membership rewards program that you can join completely free just with your phone number. And this gets you some really good deals on gas in particular. Up to the point of, I don't remember what their cap is, we've gotten about 40 cents off per gallon of gas for a fill. All right, last but surely not least, I'm gonna talk to you about my favorite grocery store here in the area. And we're gonna talk about the Boise Co-op. Now, there are only 2 locations of this in the entire Treasure Valley. There's one on Eagle Road, and then there's gonna be another one just outside of the north end in downtown Boise. But even with this limited number of stores, and we don't always make it out to the co-op now, hands down, I have not found higher quality ingredients, higher quality food, produce. They've got a great grab and go section. They've got a fantastic kind of organic section, and you can find some of those kind of hippy dippy vitamins, supplements, whatever it is that you're looking for in the co-op, which again, isn't always easy to find. And if you have any sort of dietary needs or allergies that you need to basically live around, of course, the co-op is gonna be a place where you can find things that will match any sort of diet that you need. And the fact that it is set up as a co-op here in the area, you can kind of join, get some membership rewards, you get a little dividend, all of that, you can look into that. But it is completely locally owned here, which gives you a really nice feel as you're walking through the store. The service here is pretty much top notch compared to some of the other grocery stores. Again, the quality and the local ingredients that they provide for you are just second to none. And it is not the most expensive place. It is gonna be a little bit more pricey than some of these other options, but that's to be expected with some of these smaller local stores. They just don't have the same bandwidth to give you the bottom of the barrel prices as a Walmart, for example. So even though there isn't one that's located right outside our back door, any time that I'm around one and I need to go to the grocery store, I make it a point to go a little bit out of my way to get there. And I promise, if you're looking for a little bit more of that natural, organic food, you are not going to be disappointed by giving the co-op a try. And there you have it. Those are 10 of the grocery stores that you should expect to see here in the Boise, Idaho area. Now, I want to know your thoughts. Were there any that I missed? Was there anything that I said that you've just had a very different experience too? Go ahead and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and share it with the other people that are looking into the same things that you are. And of course, if you have any questions specifically about any of these grocery stores, the places that you're going to shop, or just what it's like to actually live here in the Boise, Idaho area, all of my information is down below. Call, text, email. If there's a way that I can help even answer one question, I would absolutely love to. But until then, I hope that you learned something, and I'll see you all on the next one.